Now, in many democracies, national honours are meant to tell a story about a country's values. In the UK, for instance, the King's Honours List recognises people who've made significant contributions to public life, served the nation with distinction, or improved the lives of others through sustained and often voluntary work. But here in Nigeria, recent national honours have reopened a debate about whether the awards reflect merit or whether they've been hollowed out by politicization and the elevation of individuals whose public records raise more questions than admiration. Critics argue the system rewards proximity to power rather than genuine service, turning what should be a national benchmark of excellence into a tool of political patronage. And against that backdrop, fresh attention is being drawn to those who remain unrecognized, men and women who confronted military rule directly, endured detention, exile and loss, and helped secure the democracy Nigeria now marks each year. Among them are key figures from the Eastern Mandate Union and the broader Nadeko struggle, names that helped nationalize the June 12th resistance, but have yet to appear on the country's highest honors roll. Now, one of those making this case is the former aviation minister and founder of the Athena Center for Policy and Leadership, Chief Osita Chidoka, a first-hand participant in that struggle who argues that at stake is a simple but uncomfortable question. Do Nigeria's national honors still honor service? And Chief Osita Chidoka joins me now in the studio. How nice to see you again.
Very good to see you, Charles.
Now, you argue that Nigeria's national honors have lost their moral weight. At what point, in your view, did honors stop being about service and start looking more like political currency?
Actually, to put this in perspective, last year, the president honored the people he said were the Democrats, the people that fought for democracy, a long list. And then Diogoni 4 or 8, he honored them. And in that list, a good number of people who fought for democracy were on that list. But I thought there was a missing link in that list. Initially, I said, well, as we go on, I'm sure the president will recognize more people. But when I saw the GCON granted to another Nigerian, a Lebanese Nigerian, Gilbert Shagori, recently, I felt that, oh, okay, so this is continuing, and there is still no mention of certain people who I know paid a heavy price for the June 12th struggle. And I know because I was a participant. So I decided to use that as an opportunity to call attention. Our national honors, I'm not sure if the rules are clear anymore. It's not supposed to be granted posthumously, our national honors. That was the rule, but I think President Buhari broke that and gave to Abiola posthumously. Our GCFR is reserved only for presidents of Nigeria, but I saw it given to President Modi of India, who came to Nigeria and got a GCFR. Initially, the vice president and co got the GCON, but I've seen that expanded to include businessmen and people. So Shagori may well be in his right if you consider those that have been given the GCON honor to have been given that honor. But my view is that if the president and the government of today talks about democracy and those who fought for this democracy, I think we have an unfinished business of bringing the people from the Eastern Mandate Union axis and a host of others who have fought for democracy in Nigeria, who suffered personal losses, detentions, and everything you mentioned. And I thought it was necessary for us to go back there.
So why do you think groups like the Eastern Mandate Union, which, as you pointed out, were central to nationalizing that resistance, have been largely erased from official recognition? You think the omission is accidental or deliberate?
Well, I don't know if it is deliberate, but I just know that if you look at the list of those Nadeko leaders who came to Enugu for the fateful meeting where they traveled all night with night bus to come to Enugu to hold that meeting to beat their Abacha security network. So they all traveled in the night, got to Enugu early morning, the meeting was held, and before they knew what was happening, they were already back on their way to Lagos. You had Pa Abraham Adesanya, who is late now. You had Pa Ayo Adebanjo, who is late. You have Bola Ige, who is late. So the key leaders that came to Enugu are gone. There are some people, Mrs. Ayo Kalawani was in Enugu. I don't know what's happened to Kofo Bokuno Akerele, but Mrs. Ayo Kalawani later became a member of the FRSC board when I was a co-marshal. So, but I could see that the key leaders are gone, and that many will not remember that Chief Nwankwo was the deputy national chairman of NADECO. Many do not remember that it was in Enugu that NADECO became a national institution, that Dan Suleiman was then appointed as the vice chairman from the north, and then Nahoro became the both national and international chairman. It was in that Enugu meeting. And I think that even many Igbo people do not know that Nwankwo was in detention on the night Abacha died. He was in detention in Enugu with Udenta. And many has forgotten that he was in the formation of AD at a time when Ekweme was running for president in PDP. Nwankwo and the EMU were in AD. That was how Udenta became the national secretary of the Alliance for Democracy, which was the platform that nominated President Tinubu for governor.
And of course, that's the Udenta who sits in that seat.
Absolutely.
That you are many times and does some great analysis on Arise News.
So do you think strange to me.
Do you think the problem lies with individual administrations, or is the honors system itself structurally designed to reward proximity to power rather than sacrifice?
I think that's a very valid point made. Proximity to power seems to be very well rewarded. And I don't know why people in the early part of their service are rewarded. I'm thinking that the national honors should be, you shouldn't sit where decision is taken. So I have one. I'm an officer of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I was given that while I was co-marshal. And this was after almost 6 years of my time, almost 5 years of my time as co-marshal. Then I was given the national honors. But I think that these honors should happen after a regime has left. The next regime, the criteria are clearly, you don't have any corruption case, you don't have this, you've served the country.
Even though you didn't reject the honor when it was given to you.
No, I didn't. I mean, at that time, this is how the honor is given. I'm saying that it is time we rethink national
I see what you mean.
honor. It's time we rethink it to make it truly an honor for serving the nation. Since the benchmark of public service is reducing every day, so making it an honor. But the one that got me was this particular honor given to people for their pro-democracy support. And I felt that that list was not inclusive. Well, and I needed to remind the country that many of us played a strong role in the birthing of the June 12 crisis. I shared in the article I wrote that I did an advert on June 8th.
I read that article, which was a very good one.
On June 8th, calling on Nigerians to support MKO Abiola. I went from, I traveled all the time to Abuja to join Kudrat whenever he was appearing in court. And I was the link between them and EMU. So I did that Lagos-Abuja shuttle regularly. So I know for certain that the Eastern Mandate Union was committed to the struggle. In fact, the Commonwealth meeting that Nwankwo went and made the case for NADECO, for the restoration of June 12, was a significant international action at that time. So I do not know if it is that there were no official record keeping, or if some people felt that the eastern flank of the country did not support June 12, and keeping quiet about it justifies the attitude to the east. But I can say that many Easterners were pro-June 12, supported it to the end. Of course, there were many Easterners who opposed it, and it's the nature of politics, just like there were many Yorubas who joined Abacha in his government.
Now, some would say honors are sort of symbolic and don't change material realities. Why does this matter so much for a democracy like Nigeria's?
Because it is important that our stories are told correctly. It's important that the children coming up know that we are a country that, though tribes and tongue may differ, we stood in brotherhood. That there were Northerners who made sacrifice in supporting the June 12 struggle. That there were many Easterners who did that. That our national story is not that of division. that, like I said in a recent talk, that Nigeria is not just a mere geographical expression, as people quote, something we picked from...
Well, as Awolowo
said. He picked it from something said about Italy. But it's not a mere geographical expression. It could become a geographical expression. It could become a geographical expression of our unity, of what Africa should be, of what the black race can do. So while I agree that we have all these divisions, we must tell our stories correctly to know that at that time, Balarabe Musa of the PRP NEPU with Dr. Bala Usman, that they were all supporters of June 12. They stood out and spoke out in support. The current governor of Kaduna State was a member of CD. He was recognized. But I'm saying that there are many more, and that the country must tell the story well to show the tapestry of our belief system, to show that the divisions that some of our children are growing up to see today, that Nigeria did not always exist like that. That Abiola won in Anambra State in that election, as he won in Kaduna, as he won in many places outside the Southwest.
Yeah, that's a valid point that I think needs to be made emphatically.
Yes.
But if the president were to say that this honors list reflects national unity, not activist history, what would your response be?
And this is the full story of our national unity. This is the story of our national unity. I'll tell you, when Atowanko finished at the Commonwealth meeting and was coming back to Nigeria, there were stories about that he would be arrested upon return. And many people said he should not come back. He should stay back in the UK or go to the US. But Ato elected to come back. I spoke with him from Abuja then. He said he's coming back. He gave me the date he was coming. A lot of pro-Nadeko people came to the airport at Lagos Airport to wait for him. We were all expecting that he would be arrested at the airport, but strangely, the government decided not to. So he was received at the airport by people across all ethnic groups. It was an act of courage. It was a moment when he expressed his support for democracy. And I think that it's not just an honor. It doesn't change the reality, but it changes the narrative. What makes a country is its narrative. What makes a nation is the ability for people to walk across the aisle and shake hands and see that at the end of the day, our humanity is more than our division. So I think that where we are today is that retelling our story, that national.
Right. Now, you mentioned Arthur Nwankwo. I do remember him. I met him a number of times. Very interesting man. Brilliant man, by the way. And I recall him once, and I said to him, why do you look so good? And so he said to me, the secret is rice and fish. He said rice and fish. He loves rice and fish. I mean, he said, but the key thing was fish.
Yes.
He said, just keep eating fish and you'll be great, all through for a long time.
He didn't give you his multivitamins.
No, it was like a very brief meeting. Yes. But I mean, if Nigeria were serious about restoring credibility to its honors, that's not saying they're not credible, but making them more credible, what would a reformed process actually look like? I know you mentioned that previously, but let's kind of emphasize that point.
Well, I think we need to make the honors to be honorable. And I think one way is to make the rules clear about who gets what honor. It shouldn't be at the discretion of any government in office.
Well, I mean, in the UK, for example, the King's Honours List recognizes people who've made significant contributions to public life, served the nation with distinction, improved the lives of others through sustained and often voluntary work. There's a lot of people in the volunteer service who get rewarded. I mean, is that the kind of thing that you think?
Yes, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking. I think it shouldn't be just what you get because of the office you occupy.
Yeah, and not a list of governors and then sort of governors and then ministers and then,
It should be a list of honor for what you have contributed to this society, for the work you have done, so that our children will have role models. The current modeling for the country is quite disturbing. How people view what is success is now considerably going down and down. because now it is the man of might. It is if you cheat to get what you want, you are considered to be good. So we need to redefine our social values. We can't build a country without values. And that's why when the president restored the old national anthem, I was a major supporter, because that anthem says so much to the values we represent. He told us that, when tribes and tongue may differ, that we should stand in brotherhood. He asked us to hand over a banner without stain. And then he told us to pray, to ask our Creator one request: help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And I think that tells the story of Nigeria. How do we want to build a nation where no man is oppressed? What are the ingredients of that nation? What should define that nation where no man is oppressed? And chapter 2 of our Constitution made effort to answer that question. This is what it says we should do in forming this nation. And if you look at handing over the banner without stain, then we should look at the character of people. What do our children want to say if the rule says, do not do this, and then you end up going to EFCC, ICPC, going to prison? What are you doing with the national honors? So at the end of the day, we need to build a nation where, though tribes and tongue may differ, we stand in brotherhood. We need to define what that means and use those values to determine who gets our national honors.
And if these omissions that you're talking about remain uncorrected, what does Nigeria risk losing?
Nigeria loses a story of a united nation. Nigeria loses a story of rewarding people who go against even what I would call ethnic pressures to support that which is good. The concept of democracy, it rose against, some people felt, well, June 12 is a Yoruba matter, they should face it. So many people were prevalent with that view. But there were people who said, no, this is an issue of democracy. It's an issue of support for democracy. And it shouldn't have ethnic colorations. And I think that that's what we should be praying for in this country. When people will support decisions based on its value for the country, on its ability to build this nation that we are looking forward to. And I think that it is important in Nigeria that we begin to look at the substructure of Nigeria. How does it happen that immediately after the war, I was born in Enugu. When we go to Obosi, my village, there was running water. And today, in many parts of Abuja, the metropolitan capital of the city, there's no running water. How does it mean that our governors, ministers, all of us, former ministers, all of us wake up every day talking about our boreholes, when pipe-borne water was supposed to be one of the ingredients of development, and we used to have it. The colonial master built it. So why don't we think about the things that will make us as a nation continue to make incremental progress?
Right, okay.
And it's disturbing to me.
It's always good to talk with you and to get the benefit of your analysis. Chief Osita Chidoka is a former aviation minister and founder of the Athena Center for Policy and Leadership. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
My pleasure.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye and thank you for watching.